breaking news that's sending shockwaves across America right now. Millions of people are about to receive unexpected money, and this isn't speculation or rumor. The checks are literally in the mail as we speak. We're talking about a special payment of $1,776 hitting bank accounts before Christmas, and that's just the beginning. There's also talk of $2,000 payments coming to over 120 million Americans next year. If you're wondering whether you qualify, stay with me because I'm about to break down exactly who's getting this money when it's arriving and what you need to know to make sure you don't miss out on what could be the largest financial relief program we've seen in years. The announcement came during a major address to the nation that outlined sweeping economic changes heading into the new year. The administration revealed that 1.45 million people would be receiving an immediate payment of $1,776. This isn't a loan, it's not something you have to pay back, and it's completely tax-free. The number itself carries significant symbolic weight, chosen specifically to honor the country's 250th birthday. The timing couldn't be better for millions of families heading into the holiday season. But here's what makes this even more interesting. This Warrior Dividend, as it's being called, is separate from another massive payment program that's been promised for next year. We're talking about $2,000 checks that could go out to more than 100 million Americans sometime in mid to late 2026. The administration has made it clear they're committed to making this happen, whether or not they get full support from Congress. They're exploring every possible avenue to get this money into people's hands. Let's start with what's happening right now. According to the official announcement from the Department of Defense, nearly 1.5 million service members are receiving a $1,776 bonus. This is a one-time payment designed to both thank military personnel for their service and commemorate 250 years of military defense. The announcement emphasized that these checks are already in the mail. People won't have to wait weeks or months. The payments are being processed immediately. During the national address, the administration made it clear this payment represents something bigger than just financial relief. It's a recognition of service and sacrifice. The symbolic amount of $1,776 connects today's military members to the founding of the nation and the long history of service that has protected it for 2.5 centuries. The Secretary of Defense reinforced this message, explaining that the dividend illustrates the nation's renewed commitment to supporting those who serve. The Warrior Dividend is coming as a non-taxable supplement to regular monthly housing allowances. This means recipients won't see any of this money taken back in taxes. It's completely tax-free, which makes the actual value even more significant. For many military families dealing with the rising cost of living, especially those stationed in high-cost areas, this payment provides meaningful relief right when it's needed most. So, who exactly qualifies for this immediate payment? According to the official guidelines, active duty service members in pay grades of E6 and below as of November 30th are eligible. Additionally, reserve component service members who were on active duty orders of 31 days or more as of November 30th also qualify. The payments are expected to hit accounts before December 20th, which means many recipients will see this money before Christmas. The funding for this Warrior Dividend came from provisions included in comprehensive legislation passed earlier this year. The administration highlighted that this legislation wrapped 12 different bills into one major package, representing what they're calling the largest tax cuts in American history. This broader legislation includes several provisions designed to put more money back into people's pockets, including eliminating taxes on tips, overtime pay, and Social Security benefits for seniors. But let's talk about what could be even bigger news for millions more Americans. The proposed $2,000 tariff dividend payments that are scheduled for next year. This program has been in discussion for months. And we're finally getting some concrete details about who might be eligible and when these payments could arrive. The Treasury Secretary recently provided the most specific information yet about these larger payments. According to recent statements, the payments would likely go to individuals making less than $100,000 annually. This income threshold helps define what the administration means when they reference excluding high-income earners from the program. If this $100,000 cap is implemented, financial analysts estimate that approximately 120 million Americans would qualify to receive payments. Think about that for a moment. 120 million people receiving $2,000 each represents a massive injection of money into the economy. Financial experts estimate this would require approximately $240 billion to fund completely. That's an enormous undertaking, but the administration insists they're committed to making it happen through tariff revenue. The tariff dividend concept emerged as a response to criticism about trade policies that some argued were raising prices for consumers. The idea behind the dividend is simple. If tariffs are generating significant revenue for the government, why not share some of that revenue directly with the American people who are dealing with higher costs? It's essentially a rebate program funded by tariff collections. The proposed timeline puts these payments in the mid to late 2026 timeframe. That means people could be seeing this money roughly 6 to 12 months from now. The administration emphasized they're exploring multiple approaches to get these payments distributed, including potential tax reductions that could be bundled into upcoming legislation or direct payments similar to previous stimulus programs. One key statement from the administration made it clear they want these payments to reach everyone who qualifies, specifically noting that it would be at least $2,000 per person, excluding high-income individuals. This suggests there's possibility the payments could even be larger than $2,000 for some recipients, though no specific details about higher amounts have been released yet. The White House press secretary confirmed that economic advisors are actively working on the mechanics of how these payments would be distributed. They're examining various options for getting the money out efficiently and ensuring it reaches everyone who qualifies. This includes looking at whether the payments would come as direct deposits, paper checks, or potentially as adjustments to tax returns. Some economists have raised questions about the feasibility of funding such a large payment program entirely through tariff revenue. They point out that while tariffs do generate government income, the amounts needed to fund $240 billion in payments would require sustained high levels of tariff collections. However, the administration has indicated that the One Big Beautiful Bill includes various provisions that could help fund these payments beyond just tariff revenue. For the millions of households struggling with inflation and rising costs for essentials like groceries, gas, and housing, a $2,000 payment would provide significant relief. Financial advisors note that this amount could help families catch up on bills, build emergency savings, or make necessary purchases they've been postponing. For many people, it could represent several months of grocery money or help covering rent or mortgage payments. The economic impact of these payments extends beyond just the immediate relief to recipients. When millions of people receive money simultaneously, it tends to flow quickly into the economy as people spend it on necessities and other purchases. This increased consumer spending can boost business revenues and potentially create positive economic ripple effects, though economists debate the longer-term implications. What makes the current situation particularly interesting is that we're seeing two separate payment programs happening in quick succession. The Warrior Dividend is already being distributed right now, providing immediate proof that the administration can and will follow through on payment promises. This immediate action on the military payments lends credibility to the promises about the larger tariff dividend program coming next year. The military recruitment angle mentioned in the announcement provides additional context for the Warrior Dividend. After struggling with some of the worst recruitment numbers in history, The military is now seeing record enlistment levels. The announcement specifically highlighted this turnaround, suggesting that improved benefits and support for service members, including payments like this dividend, are contributing to renewed interest in military service. For those wondering about the mechanics of receiving these payments, the Warrior Dividend is being processed through existing military payment systems. Service members don't need to apply or take any special action. The payments are automatically being added to accounts for everyone who meets the eligibility criteria. This automated approach ensures the money gets distributed quickly without creating administrative burdens for recipients. Looking ahead to the tariff dividend program, we're still waiting for final details about the application or distribution process. Based on previous large-scale payment programs, it's likely that the government will use existing tax return information to identify eligible recipients and determine payment amounts. This would allow for relatively quick distribution without requiring everyone to submit applications. The $100,000 income threshold, if implemented as suggested, would cover the vast majority of American workers. According to census data, this income level is well above the median household income, meaning most working families would fall below this cap and qualify for payments. The threshold would primarily exclude higher earners, while ensuring the payments reach middle-class and working-class households. One question many people have is whether the income threshold applies to individual or household income. The language used suggests it would be individual income, meaning in a two-income household, both adults could potentially receive payments as long as each individually earns less than $100,000. However, this detail hasn't been officially clarified yet, and final rules could specify household income instead. The tax-free nature of the Warrior Dividend raises questions about whether the tariff dividends would also be tax-free. If structured as a rebate or refund rather than taxable income, recipients would keep the full $2,000 without owing anything at tax time. This would maximize the benefit and simplify the process, though official guidance on the tax treatment of tariff dividends hasn't been released yet. For planning purposes, families should consider what they would do with a $2,000 payment if and when it arrives. Financial advisors generally recommend using unexpected money to first address any immediate financial emergencies or high-interest debt. After covering urgent needs, building or strengthening an emergency fund should be a priority. For those in stable financial positions, the money could be invested or saved for specific goals. The announcement also highlighted other economic changes coming in the new year, including what's being described as the largest tax refund season of all time projected for next spring. This suggests that the tax law changes included in recent legislation will result in many people seeing significantly larger refunds than usual. Combined with the potential tariff dividend, many families could see several $1,000s in additional money during 2026. The elimination of taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits represents substantial changes for millions of workers and retirees. For service industry workers who receive tips, not paying taxes on that income could mean keeping several $1,000s more each year. Similarly, workers who regularly work overtime would see larger paychecks when that overtime pay isn't taxed. Seniors receiving Social Security would benefit from keeping their full benefit amounts without tax withholding. Estimates suggest these tax changes could save families between $11,000 and $20,000 annually, depending on their specific circumstances. When combined with potential dividend payments, we're looking at significant increases in disposable income for many households. This level of economic change could have major impacts on consumer behavior and overall economic activity. The administration emphasized that next year is expected to be one of the best economic years in recent history. This optimistic projection is based on the combined effects of tax cuts, dividend payments, and other economic policies being implemented. Whether this prediction proves accurate will depend on numerous factors, including how quickly the various programs are implemented and how the broader economy responds. For military families receiving the Warrior Dividend right now, the immediate impact is already being felt. Many service members have shared that this unexpected payment is making a real difference during the expensive holiday season. For families that have been stretching budgets to cover rising costs while also trying to provide a good Christmas for their children, this $1,776 provides meaningful relief. The speed of the Warrior Dividend distribution demonstrates that when there's political will and proper funding, the government can move quickly to get payments out. The entire process from announcement to money hitting accounts is happening in a matter of days, not months. This sets a precedent that could inform how the tariff dividend program is eventually rolled out. Looking at the broader picture, these payment programs represent a significant shift in fiscal policy. Rather than economic relief being targeted narrowly at specific groups, we're seeing proposals for widespread payments that would reach a majority of Americans. This approach reflects recognition that inflation and rising costs have affected people across a wide spectrum of income levels and circumstances. Critics of the tariff dividend program have raised concerns about the economic implications of such large payments and questioned whether tariff revenue can sustainably fund them. These are legitimate questions that deserve serious analysis. However, supporters argue that if tariffs are indeed raising costs for consumers, then rebating some of that revenue back to taxpayers is both fair and economically sound. The political dynamics around these payments are also worth noting. Major economic relief programs often face significant debate and disagreement in Congress. The fact that the administration is exploring ways to implement the tariff dividend without requiring new legislation suggests they're anticipating potential opposition and planning alternative approaches. This determination to move forward regardless of obstacles could be significant for whether the payments actually materialize. For those trying to plan financially around these potential payments, the conservative approach is to not count on money until it's officially confirmed and on its way. The Warrior Dividend provides proof that payments can and do happen. But until the tariff dividend program is fully authorized and funded, it remains a possibility rather than a certainty. Smart financial planning means hoping for the best while preparing for other scenarios. The income verification process for a payment program this large would require significant administrative infrastructure. The Internal Revenue Service would likely play a major role, using tax return data to identify eligible recipients. This is similar to how previous large-scale payment programs have been administered. The IRS already has income information for most Americans, making it the logical agency to handle verification and distribution. One advantage of using tax return data is that it's regularly updated. If the tariff dividend program uses 2025 or 2026 tax returns to determine eligibility, it would reflect people's most current income levels. This is important because someone who earned over $100,000 in previous years, but less in the qualifying year, would still be eligible based on their current circumstances. The timing of mid to late 2026 for the tariff dividend payments suggests they could potentially coincide with the tax filing season or come shortly after. If the payments are processed similar to tax refunds, people might receive them around the same time they get their regular refunds. This could result in many people receiving substantially larger deposits than usual during that period. For retirees living on fixed incomes, these payment programs could provide particularly valuable relief. Social Security benefits, while adjusted for inflation, often don't keep pace with the actual increase in living costs that seniors experience. A $2,000 payment would represent several months of additional purchasing power for many retirees. Combined with the elimination of taxes on Social Security benefits, senior finances could see meaningful improvement. The Warrior Dividend specifically targets a group that often faces unique financial challenges. Military families frequently deal with relocations, deployments, and other circumstances that can create financial strain. Housing costs near military bases can be particularly high. This one-time payment of $1,776, while not solving all challenges, provides immediate help for many military families. As we move forward into 2026, keeping track of developments around the tariff dividend will be important for millions of Americans. Official announcements about final eligibility requirements, payment amounts, and distribution timing could come at any point. When legislation moves forward or administrative procedures are finalized, those details will determine exactly who receives payments and when. The broader economic environment will also play a role in how these payments impact people's lives. If inflation continues moderating and economic conditions remain stable, the payments could feel like pure benefit rather than just catching up with higher costs. Conversely, if economic challenges persist, the payments might feel more like necessary relief than extra money. What we're witnessing is potentially a significant moment in economic policy. Large-scale direct payments to citizens, once rare, have become more common in recent years. Whether through pandemic relief, tax rebates, or now tariff dividends, the idea of direct government payments to individuals has gained acceptance across the political spectrum. This shift could have lasting implications for how economic policy is approached in the future. For now, military service members can expect their Warrior Dividend payments before December 20th. That's confirmed, funded, and happening. For everyone else watching the tariff dividend discussion, the key is staying informed as details develop. The $100,000 income threshold provides a general guideline for eligibility, but final rules could differ from current proposals. The commitment to making 2026 an exceptional economic year includes these payment programs, but extends beyond them. Tax policy changes, regulatory approaches, and other economic initiatives are all part of the broader agenda. How all these elements work together will determine whether the optimistic predictions about next year's economy prove accurate. This is Retirement Wealth Watch.